Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show. Super excited to be here with you all today. And we have our guest, Vanessa Persaud-Robert, here in the studio with me. How are you today, Vanessa?
I am great. I am great.
Oh, great. I'm so glad to have you here. Listen, everyone, grab your virtual seats. We're getting ready to have a great episode. Today, you're going to hear from Vanessa about marriage and the reality of marriage. We're going to be having some candid discussion about marriages. And then midstream, you're going to hear from attorney Everidge, and he's going to be answering some questions pertaining to personal injury and how things go if you're injured on the workplace and how do you go about getting those things handled properly. So that's going to be happening mid-show today. So go ahead and grab your virtual seats and let's get ready to start. Welcome again, Vanessa, to the studio.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kim Jacobs, the Balance Doctor. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Be sure to subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show right on YouTube. Turn on your notification bell to all so you never miss a beat. And guess what? Every time you watch, you're going to receive a real relevant and relatable guest that's going to share with you a piece of the puzzle on this journey called life that will help you be able to manage just a little bit smoother. At the end of the day, the Kim Jacobs Show goal is to be able to provide balance to the world, one household at a time.
Kim Jacobs Show. You're watching Kim Jacobs Show.
All right, everyone. I have in the studio with me Mrs. Vanessa Persaud-Robert, and we're going to be talking about the reality of marriage today. Vanessa was born in Guyana, South America, and migrated to the United States at the age of 7 with her parents and sibling in 1980. She met and married her husband of 28 years now, and she's pursued her licensing as a registered nurse. She and her family, husband, and 3 young adult children currently reside in upstate New York area, where she works for Albany Medical Center Department of Surgery. Faculty practice as a nursing supervisor. She and her family share a passion for ministry and serve in their local church where needed. Her and her husband hope to someday serve their community through practical application of spiritual truths. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now you're at work actually right now. And
yes,
so
I'm taking my lunch.
glad that you're taking your lunch with us today. And speaking of work, how is it with everything still happening with COVID? And it hasn't died down completely yet here under any circumstances. Actually, now over 500,000 people have officially passed away. Tell us your experience in your line of work.
It's exactly as you said. It hasn't died down, and it's not going to die down. Just to bring some candidacy to it, it is going to take time. It's like it hit hard and it hit fast, but it's going to take time to go down. But I'm so thankful that we are making strides though in the right direction. So we are seeing declines where we need to see declines, and we are super excited as people of faith that things are looking and turning around, and we have hope, and that's the main thing. Things are really happening. Things are really getting better here in upstate New York, especially. I can only speak to my what I know directly, and our facilities and our clinicians, they are really proactive in getting our patients seen and attended to, and we're keeping people's safety in mind in everything that we do. And keeping care.
Thank you, Jesus. I'm grateful that there are people in the world like you that care about what's happening and doing everything, even almost sacrificing you guys' safety in many instances to care for the safety of others. So that goes to show that you all really are superheroes, in my opinion. There should be a whole Marvel movie about people that do this line of work, and that would be one that would sell out instantly,
Agreed.
Yeah, for sure. So today, though, we're talking about marriage and the reality of marriage. So if we're going to be talking about the reality of marriage, then we obviously need to talk about some of the myths associated with marriage. So let's start there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I even began my book with that same sentence. So when you say that, I'm like, oh, she read it. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. Because you can never really talk about reality without talking about the not so real stuff.
That's right.
And a part of that for me is the first thing the first myth among many myths is perfection. We
Perfect.
always think, yeah, we're always thinking that there is marriage is or our marriage or someone else's marriage is perfect, and that's what we want. We want that perfect thing. But I dove in and I found the definition of perfection, and I'm going to read it from Webster's
Yes.
dictionary. It says freedom from flaws, flawless. Now, if you've been married a minute, if you've been married just a minute, you know that is not marriage. We are not free from flaws. We are not free from defects. We
No,
are very flawed.
for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Every marriage can relate. Anybody that's married out in the studio audience, if you can relate, let's just put a two because that'll stand for peace. Peace. We understand. Put a two in the comments. There has to be some peace in the marriage, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So
The
perfection is the first
yes,
myth. What's another one?
yes. The second myth that I found in my marriage and was that I felt that my husband, so whether we feel he or she, your husband or your wife, they're solely responsible for your happiness. That is
Hmm.
the second biggest myth that I found in the marriage is that we put the onus on the other person for our happiness and our satisfaction and making us, the best wife or the best husband that we could be. Well, if I'm not, then it's because of you, and that is a myth.
I love it. I love that one right there. Okay. I'm actually putting what we're talking about today because I see a lot of people joining in. So I want to let you all know today that we're talking about the reality of marriage. And we're talking with Mrs. Vanessa Persaud-Robert. I just put your first name because I was trying to listen to what you're saying too. But this is some good stuff. Okay. So feeling that your spouse is solely responsible for your happiness. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. That's good. That's good. Okay, go ahead.
I have one more that I'm going to talk about today regarding myths because there are tons, but this is the third, and I think it's the most important one for us as women, as wives. Um, Mind reading. We believe that our husbands have to know exactly what we're feeling, when we're feeling it, and how intense we're feeling it. And
Right.
we put that responsibility in how we start to see them and hear them.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking he knows that I had a hard day today. He knows that the kids were just unruly, or he knows that that thing really does not sit well with me. And yet he's going to ask me that question. How dare he? Now, let me
What?
explain. Let me explain this one a little bit more because I have to give my ladies the props. You see, we as women were built, we kind of like have this DNA of intuition.
Right.
We were built this way because God intended us to be mothers and nurturers. We're supposed to care for and grow things. And so what happens is that this ability to initiate our intuition, like I could tell from the inception of our relationship, I could kind of like read my husband. I knew his moods, and I could, without him saying a word, I would know if something was up. And
Hmm.
that's just how we're built though. And
Right.
we take that and we start to see through that lens and think that he should be the same way, but he's not. And
Hmm.
that's a huge myth that we go into relationships with, thinking that our spouses, our intended spouses, are going to be exactly that. They're going to know as much as I do, or feel the way I feel, and know that I'm feeling that way, and to take care of me the way you do. It's okay for you because you're built that way, but they're not. And so we have to get away from that. You got to
I
get away
love
from it.
it. I love this. Listen, everybody that's in the studio audience today, at least tag one friend. Tag one of your friends and invite them to the studio audience with you. Look, you're in a virtual seat. Go ahead and just say, hey, girl, come over. You have to hear this episode, The Reality of Marriage. All of us have girlfriends that are married. Let me tag one of my friends. Let me just tag Sean, my buddy. I'll tag her. What are we talking about? Marriage today, y'all. The reality of it. So everybody tag somebody and invite them to the studio. We're going to take just 2 seconds for you to do that. If you haven't done, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. That way you don't miss out. You're getting a chance to just tag a friend, tag somebody. Everybody tag somebody that you know would enjoy hearing this episode. You have 10 seconds. All right, we're getting ready to come back with Vanessa Persaud-Robert. All right, Vanessa. All right, so I gave everybody a chance to just tag some people because people do not need to miss this episode. So tell us how you and your husband met and give us some of the dynamics of your marriage.
Well, I know dynamics. I learned the definition of that word. It is truly dynamic. But my husband and I met when I was a teenager. I was 17 years old. I had already been in the country for 10 years, growing up, doing school, and he had just entered the country. He was 20 years old and very new to this culture. My country, Guyana, South America, is very much not as up to date, if you want to say in that sense.
Right.
I hate to call it a third world country, but he came here with his mom and his baby brother. He was actually the baby for many years, and then the baby brother showed up and took his crown. But he came with his parents and his baby brother, and they came straight to church, and that's how we met. We went to pick them up to go to church, and this is in the Bronx, South Bronx. And when I saw him run down the stairs of the building, I'll never forget it. He had a nosebleed, I guess, that day, and he had the kerchief like this, and he was running down, and he had jerry curls. Yes, he had a perm. He had a perm, and he was very, very dark because, you know, in my country is a lot of sunlight, and plus he's dark anyway. And so when he was coming down, he was shining. He was so shining. The sunlight hit him perfectly. He walked into the van. I was in the back of the van, and you know, all the young girls in the back of the van and all the older people in the front. So he was coming in towards me, like directly towards me. And I just looked at him, and he had the brownest eyes. I was like, oh my God, that's going to be my husband.
Oh my God.
I told my friend, and Pammy, if you ever hear this, remember what I turned around and told you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is so cute. Like Judy Singh says, hashtag church find my husband. So the church found your husband. That's awesome. Awesome. That's a great story. So, okay, so how did y'all become husband and wife?
Well, so 2 years later, actually 1 year, 11 months later, we tied the knot, and we were just serving. We were young people serving in kingdom, and we grew up together. I was 19, he was 22, and we just started to do life.
Y'all did life well because y'all have how many children?
3.
Tell us about your children right quick too.
I have 3 young adults, 1 adult, I should say, 2 young adults and 1 adult now.
I got some pictures over here. I'm over here. Like I'm really just listening. I could have been
my eldest, that's my husband and myself. And then we have 3 children. I have Jacob, who is my eldest. He's the one behind my husband. Then my Iris, she came in the middle. And then, of course, my Aaron, who is my last one. I told him, I said, you have to stick with mom. Everybody else could go, but you'll stick with mom.
Oh, that's so awesome. I'm sitting here, I'm interviewing you, and I'm getting all caught up in the story. I'm like, oh, wait. I have a couple of pictures I can show. And I cannot imagine your husband with a Jerry curl back in the day. That is hilarious.
Oh yeah, you should see him. I have pictures.
You should have sent me a picture of that. It's so funny. He'll be like, why would you dare?
No, he loves it.
Reports.
He's already he loves his perm, and he already threatened me. He said, "Listen, I'm growing this back. Whatever grows, I'm growing it, and I'm gonna make sure I curl it again."
Oh my gosh, you're like, Lord, please keep the growth stunted a little bit in that. That's so funny, Vanessa. Okay, so we talked about some of the myths of marriage, and I really think that was really great insight and information. And guys, don't forget, in the studio audience, if you have questions, go ahead and type your questions as well so we can get some of them answered. Let me see, actually, before we go on, is people chiming in, and I was tagging some people. Oh, Annie said, hey, ladies. And Wyoming said, good morning, ladies. Hey, Vanessa, love you. And Annie said, good morning, my mommy said as well. And some other people chimed in. Make sure you guys are tagging people and inviting them to be a part of the studio. All of the women say 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, because at the end of the day, they understand and can relate with everything that you were sharing about the myths. And good morning, Andrea. Andrea is married as well. So let's see. Dr. Josephine said, yes, tell the truth, sister. Tell the truth. And you were talking about mind reading, I think, during that point. Here's a myth that Lydia said. You will get a back or foot rub when you want or really need it. That's a myth.
Big myth.
You better a good shower, massage, shiatsu, or something. Isn't that a myth? That's interesting. Good myth, Lydia. Let's see what else some other people said. These are great comments, guys. Vanessa, you said, oh, you started tagging some of your friends. Okay, Annie said, love it. These are great advice tips, even for the singles. Speaking of singles, let's talk about that for a second. Oh, wait a minute. My mom said, hey, I don't know how to tag people, but I did call 2 friends. My mom is hilarious. She done got off the whole show.
Mom, you are absolutely right. I didn't know what that meant either. I kept on hearing it, and it wasn't until last week I asked Iris. I was like, my daughter, I said, "What? How do you tag people? People say tag people. How do you tag people? And can you please share with Mom? She'll learn. 1, 2, 3."
Well, no, in all honesty, I do share with my mom, and my mom will say, Kim, I'm done with this right now. Okay. I've had enough of this. I'm like, Mom, if you start typing the person's name, if they're in your friend circle on Facebook, then it'll automatically highlight them. And then you hit enter, and that's tagging a person. So Mom, today on this broadcast, if you could just tag one person, even if you just tag me, say Kim, start typing Kim Jacobs, and I promise you, hit enter, it's going to tag me. The only challenge is, Vanessa, my mom, she doesn't accept a lot of people as her friends, so she doesn't have people to tag. She's like, these people ain't my friend. That's what. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Okay, so Emmanuel says, God bless you both. God bless you. Church finding a husband. Annie laughed at your story. Oh, lots and lots of comments. Amen. Amen. Thank you guys for being so engaged today. Love at first sight with the Jerry curl. Yes, beautiful family. And then Allison Ski said, congratulations, Vanessa. So glad you're back in the studio too, Allison. We don't take for granted when we don't see you. So we're glad to have you back. Jennifer, okay, thank you. Vanessa, okay. All right, so in your book, which you've written a book, tell us about your book and what people can expect to learn from your book.
Well, the book is actually my roadmap during a very dark period of my marriage. Like I said, my husband and I, we grew up in the ministry. We served in Kingdom, and we absolutely enjoy serving in Kingdom. We do so up to this day. So with that being said, though, there are so many people that see you, and again, they don't see the reality of what's going on with you in any aspect, much less a marriage. And so when we were going through that rough spot, I was ashamed. I didn't want people to see the reality of what was happening. And so I hid myself. I hid myself for a long time. We were separated for over 2 years, and I didn't share that with much people at all. Only my immediate family, and of course his family, and we walked that path, and it came to a point where I was so ashamed. I was so locked up in my own feelings. I blew up what was happening way bigger than what it really was, and I got caught in that web, and so I couldn't get myself out, and I couldn't allow anyone to come in per se to help me to get out. And the
Wow.
Holy Spirit met me. So it was one morning I came home from work. I worked for 10 years as a night nurse, and
Mhm.
that was my shift. That was my career. That's all I knew.
Right.
And so I usually come home, I'll shower, and I'll lay in the living room where my children are. I needed noise and I needed company, you know. I would sleep. I have no problem sleeping with people around me, TV blasting. I have no
Right.
problems. That was my lullaby. And I went to sleep this morning thinking that would be it. And I thought I had like this awesome hours of rest, and I popped up from my rest, and I started writing because I started hearing things, and I started, you know, like feeling like this is what I needed to write. And so I grabbed my book and my pen, and I started writing 9 points. And I'm thinking, okay, these are 9 points, whatever. When I looked at the clock, it was 7 minutes from the time I went down. And I
Wow.
wrote it, and it took 2 days the Lord took 2 days to define each of those 9 points. I thought it was just like, you know, whatever. I was getting this revelation. I was all excited. It only happened to me twice before in my life. And so I was just excited. And I wrote it down. And as I started to read it and engage in it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is for me. The Holy Spirit literally left heaven and said, excuse me, you need to get up and get out of this place that you're in because you don't belong there. And seeing that you don't want anyone else to come and tell you the hard truth, let me tell you the hard truth. And he broke it down in such a way that I started to take it and implement it into every aspect of my marriage. The way he showed me, it was a literal roadmap for
Mm,
me, for
mm.
me. And then as it evolved and as it started to define itself, the Holy Spirit just started to bring clarity, bring clarity. It just took 2 days. And then I realized I couldn't contaminate it. I couldn't put my story in there. It was all what it was, as if he stepped down and he was you right now, Kim. He was you sitting on that side of me, and he
Mhm.
was walking me through each of those things. So it became my roadmap.
And your roadmap, you decided to share with the world.
Well, yes, after I knew it had to be something. I knew where I was, I knew where I came from, and I knew where I was heading. And at the time, honestly, there was no reconciliation in the picture when I got this.
Mm.
And it took me to that point. And when after all is said and done, I said, Lord, this wasn't meant for me. This is not mine. This belongs to you, and it belongs to whomever needs to hear this. And if I have to be that oracle, I'll be it. I don't mind. I spoke with my husband, and that's a long story, but I spoke with my husband and I shared with him because everyone gets scared. You're going to talk about us, you're going to talk about our marriage,
Oh yeah,
that
you're like,
you
that's
know the
not.
reality. Excuse me, did I give you permission? You know, all that kind of stuff. And I needed him to read it. I needed him to understand it wasn't about us. It was how we walked out of that season and how we can help others, you know, either avoid it or walk out of it.
Well, if everyone wants to know how they walked out of that season and at least walk away from today's episode with a minimum of 3 things to do to get over some hurdles that you're facing in your marriage, put a 5 in the comments. Put a 5 in the comments, because after our commercial break, which is going to go into a promo segment that's with attorney Charles Everidge, talking about some very important information that's going to be helpful to everyone watching. If you're dealing with personal injury and workers' compensation, you're going to learn some quick tips right quick from attorney Charles Everidge. and I'll put his information on here as well. I don't see any fives in the comments, so I don't know if they want to, when we learn this workers' compensation and personal injury stuff, if they want to be able to come back and hear some hurdles that they can get over and overcome with Vanessa. Let's see, any fives in the comments? All right. Yes, I see some fives coming in. Okay. Let me see. And average. All right. So what we're going to do is take a quick break. Let me tell you about today's episode sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by attorney Charles Everidge, and he's with Everidge and Hunter. Their disability law firm is hunter-everidge.com. They're located at 5457 Monroe Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. And their phone number is 704-377-9157. Listen, I want you to learn more about them. Vanessa, I'm going to pop you backstage for a second, and I'm going to pull attorney Everidge in right after this commercial break. So everybody get ready to ask any questions that you may have regarding workers' compensation or regarding personal injury, and attorney Charles Everidge will answer them for you.
My father had 4 of his fingers amputated in a workplace accident. It was the first injured individual I represented, and I knew I had to win that case. When someone walks into my office and they've been injured, I know what they're going through. If you've been injured at work, work with Hunter and Everidge. We've got the experience, so let us help you.
We are back with attorney Charles Everidge. How are you, attorney Everidge?
Doing great. Thanks for welcoming me. I look forward to this.
Thank you so much for being here today. Listen, we have a few questions that people have been asking, and we thought it'd be great to have you come on for a few minutes and address some of those. One is, what should I do if I'm injured at work?
First thing, most important thing, report the injury to your employer. Try and do it the same day, but if you learn that you're truly injured after you leave work, report it the next day. Make sure that you request medical treatment. Make sure you've reported it to the right person. The people that we represent, most of them want to continue working. They want to get back to work after their injury. They want to recover from their injuries from a medical standpoint, and they want to remain on their job. But what happens when one of these 3 objectives can't be met? And you really do need representation. Just a brief story. I had a client that was very seriously injured, and he came into my office after his arm had been operated on, and it was severely disfigured. And I asked him what he did for a living, and he was a delivery driver, delivered thousands of pounds of packages per day. I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm hopeful for you, but looking at your medicals, I don't know if you'll be able to return to that job. And he said, I just want the doctors to fix my arm and my shoulder. And I said, I don't know if they'll be able to do it. You've already had 2 surgeries.
Right.
But what we had to do was we had to pivot. When those objectives can't be met, let's make sure that you have confidence so that you can move on to the next stage in your life. I mean, everyone wants to have a perfect relationship with their employer. Why do I need an attorney? They have an attorney. They have an insurance company. But, at the end of the day, after we've represented them, over 2 years, he called me on Saturday. And he said, I just had to report, we had already settled this case. I'm working for myself now, or I own my own company now. So he went from being a driver. Let me just share a picture that he sent to me if I can. And he said, now I own 4 trucks. And I mean, that is just a blessing. And he has 4 drivers working for him. But that wouldn't have been accomplished without good representation. So, we just try and provide good advice. We've been doing it. I've been practicing over 20 years. We have attorneys in Richmond and in Charlotte that also have extensive experience with workers' comp cases, and try and give people the representation they need. I think you're muted.
I am. I had a big truck running by. I was like, oh, that was too loud, so I muted
Might
myself.
have been my client.
And listen, I put your contact information here too. So if you all are dealing with workers' compensation issues or personal injury or disability, you can be able to contact Attorney Everidge's office. Now, another question is, I don't want to sue my employer. Why do I need an attorney?
Well, you need an attorney to find out what your rights are. You know, your employer has an insurance company and they have an attorney. So workers' compensation is a special area of law. You don't file a lawsuit in court. You don't have a jury trial, but there is a legal process to it. So you want to know your rights. Definitely. I mean,
Okay, so another question is, my employer's insurer wants to take my statement. What should I do?
okay. Well, you're required to give a statement to the insurance company that is investigating the injury, but you've got to be very cautious about what's said in that statement because it's going to determine whether they accept liability or not. So I always recommend, if you can, get representation first. You can say, you know, I don't want to get a statement at this time. I want to go ahead and get an attorney to be present with me during that statement because they're looking to trip you up. So definitely.
That's interesting. Interesting. Now, listen, studio audience as well. You are welcome to ask any questions that you may have. This is free advice for you guys from a personal injury, workers' compensation, a disability perspective. He can answer as the attorney some of these questions. Also, Attorney Everidge is Omega Psi Phi fraternity, just so everybody knows. A member of, type that, Shannon, too. He is a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
And also, I'm looking through your comments and I'm seeing a past client that I represented in Fayetteville, or no, Greenville, North Carolina, Lydia Bess. And, you know, most of the people that get injured at work, you know, they think of them doing physical labor and, you know, heavy labor. But, you know, Miss Bess, she's a pharmaceutical rep, but she got injured at work. And it was a serious injury. So I'm glad I'm able to help people, you know, transition and get representation and compensation that they need.
Absolutely. You do an incredible job. And I personally have experience with you as well. And I definitely can endorse Attorney Charles Everidge and his law firm. I haven't been treated fairly. What are my rights? Okay.
Well, number one, the employer needs to pay all of your medical bills. They're responsible for surgeries, rehab, even the ambulance bill. You know, if they're not paying those bills, then, you know, there's a procedure to force them to. Secondly, if the doctor has written you out of work for longer than 1 week, they should be compensating you for those lost wages. And thirdly, if you suffered a serious injury that causes a permanent injury, such as a broken bone or surgery, the employer needs to compensate you for your permanent injury.
Wow.
So it's a formula to do it. There's laws that cover it. Don't listen to, you know, people that don't know. Find good representation, definitely.
Wow. These are some profound points that you're making, and we've had them all typed so that you guys can go back and look at them later as well. Before you make any statement, make sure that you officially get representation. I hear an echo. It's okay, we're good. Let's see. Employer needs to pay all of your medical bills as well.
Yes.
Make sure you know that. We're typing those backstage. Thank you for understanding. So an employer needs to pay all of your medical bills. And any other questions or comments or anything that you all want to get addressed while we have Attorney Everidge on?
And you know, if you may not be injured yourself, but you may know someone that is injured or going through this process at work. And you know, don't be afraid to, you know, ask, hey, have you gotten representation? Because a lot of people are, they fall into a situation where the employer may be providing medical treatment, may be providing payments to them, and they make the assumption, well, I don't need an attorney. Well, you do need an attorney, because just because they're doing 2 out of 3 doesn't mean that they're going to pay you what your case is truly worth as far as the permanent injury. It doesn't mean that when the doctor finishes the surgery that doctor is going to be fair in assigning when you should return back to work and what your limitations are. So you really do need an advocate to know what's right and to know what your case is worth, and to make sure that you're protected in this process, because there's a system set up and they've got resources and knowledge of that system, and you should too.
I love it. I love everything that you're advising, and I think it's great information and great insight. And many times it's things that we don't just know off the top of our head. So if you all are interested in learning more, what areas do you cover so people will know?
In addition to doing workers' compensation, we do wrongful death cases, personal injury cases such as car accidents, slip and falls, dog bites, and Social Security disability. One of the advantages of our firm, if you are one of those employees that is so seriously injured, they can't work anywhere else and they're just permanently disabled, you don't have to go out and find a second law firm to represent you before the Social Security Disability Administration. We do that also. And we just felt like that was necessary to help our clients.
That's really good information. So if you have a situation and you don't want to necessarily type it right here on the platform, but you like to privately inbox Attorney Everett, all you have to do is go to Facebook and inbox him at Hunter Everett, and he'll give your story and your contact information to reach out to you. And then also make sure you say that the Kim Jacobs Show did send you over to their office. Another thing is you can call them at 704-377-9157. Or you can visit them at hunter-everidge.com. Any closing comments, Attorney Everidge?
Well, just thanks for the opportunity. I enjoy your show. I enjoyed the speaker about marriage, and I was listening. So if any way I can help you or your listeners, please reach out to me, and I look forward to doing this again.
Well, thank you so much, Attorney Everidge, for joining us. Make sure no comments, questions came in that I didn't miss. Okay, yes. Okay, so Lydia did type in. Oh, he is good. And God, man, he also wears cowboy boots. He fights. So that's an endorsement for you, Attorney Everett.
That is, Miss Bess is a client. She was a great client.
Excellent.
And once you're a client here, I still consider you a client, even if the case is over with. So.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and definitely look forward to having you back again soon. Thank you, Attorney Everett. Okay? God bless you and have a great day.
Have a great day.
Okay, Vanessa, I'm pulling you back in. You ready? Thumbs up. All right. Now we're back with Vanessa Persaud-Robert. Let's see, because we cannot miss a moment. Now, people already said they want to know what are some of the ways that you overcome some of these hurdles. So let's talk about ways to overcome some of the hurdles. You're muted too, but here, while she's unmuting herself, make sure you guys know right there below how you can support the Kim Jacobs Show through your online contributions, and you can give your donations there. And guess what? It does make a difference, because I like to give a shout out to all of the women that were a part of the My Walk Past Hell. Guess what? They sent an online contribution to the Kim Jacobs Show, and I just want to say thank you all. I don't take it for granted when anyone does an online financial contribution to keep the show going with the original content. Now, I know there's some good content that we providing on the Kim Jacobs Show, so if y'all want to see this every day like this, and you want me to be sitting in this chair with a whole team of people helping me, make sure you support the Kim Jacobs Show. All right, Vanessa, you're back. Go ahead.
I'm back. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Great.
Okay, so tell us, how can we overcome some of these hurdles in our marriages?
Well, the biggest part of it is that we have to have faith. We have to have faith And we have to know that what we're in is not, this is not just something that's gonna, it's here today, gone tomorrow kind of mentality. It is going to take work, and you've got to put that work in. And I think a lot of times as married individuals, we kind of like I said again, the whole myth of perfection, looking at someone else's relationship and then measuring your relationship with that is an absolute no-no. You have to come to that reality. That's the reason I asked to speak on this chapter, because there's a reason why it's the first chapter. The Lord had to take me through a journey, and he started this journey. He started to walk me through with this roadmap with that first point, the reality of your marriage, because it was the myth of what my marriage seemed to be to everyone else that I thought it was, that kept me from reaching out for help. The shame that I thought it was to be in a situation like this that kept me from reaching out for assistance. And the Lord started that journey with me. That first point on the road is that get to know what your marriage really is, and accept it, own it, take responsibility for your part in the partnership instead of getting yourself stuck in, oh, it's his fault, it's my partner's fault. No, what was your part in it, and owning it. So getting over these hurdles, and now I'm realizing that that's exactly what they were. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but he gave me that title. I woke up with that title, Caution, Marriage in Progress, Navigating the Hurdles of Married Life. And I wrote it down as I heard it, I wrote it down. And it's not until everything started to take its place that I realized what he was doing. He set it up in a way that these 9 points that I thought were just 9 points for me to delve into are those 9 hurdles. Not that there aren't any more hurdles, there are definitely more hurdles. But these 9 hurdles are what I've come to realize foundational ones.
Wow.
Things that if we had known, if we had the ideas, if we had this information, we would be able to make informed decisions walking through this marriage life, through this relationship. And I tried to change the narrative from married to partnership only because we kind of lose the meaning of a marriage in that word. But when we realize that it's a partnership and I have a part to play as a partner, then it comes full circle. And so that's the key. The key is reality. Get those reality checks going.
I love it. Well, lots of comments are coming in, so let's see if I can get a couple of these in. A great deal of people don't understand what marriage really is, Lydia says. So what do you think marriage really is from your perspective, Vanessa?
Marriage is a conscious decision that has to take the forefront of your walk. It has to be the focus. If you are coming into a relationship, partnership with someone, their life is in your hands. Your life is in their hands. And making sure that you understand that, value it, and honor it is what will take you through to a successful marriage.
And I agree with everything that you're saying. I also have people that constantly inbox me or private messenger me, and they say things like I actually have a message up here right now saying that, I want my marriage, but my spouse does not want the marriage. I can't do anything to make that person, whether it's him or her, want the marriage along with me. What do you do in those situations? I don't even know what to tell the people to do. I'm like, I don't know. You cannot force anybody to do anything. So maybe with you being more of a marriage expert person here, any thoughts on that? Because I really don't know how to answer that for them, except for pray and ask God to open up take the scales off of that person's eyes or whatever. But do you have any insight on that?
I have one insight is we have to understand, why are you saying they don't want it? Are you reading signs rather than hearing the words? That's the first thing you have to really take a good look at. Now, if you're reading signs, be careful, because some
Right.
signs have double meaning. And especially if there's not effective communication, to kind of like bulldoze your way through the
Right.
bush of all of the excess nonsense, you're not going to see what anything else than what you want to see. So
That's
you're gonna read those signs because of the hurt that you've had in the past with that
Mhm.
person. So be careful there. But secondly, and I think most importantly, if you honestly believe that this marriage is over and that divorce is it or whatever, because that person honestly does not want to be with you, it's okay. It is so okay. I'm not here to condone divorces. I'm not here to say, a lot of people might want to say, oh, she's saying as a believer, as a Christian, you can divorce. Listen, I believe that each and every one of us have a relationship with God individually. That relationship supersedes my marriage. It supersedes any relationship with my kids, my personal walk with God. That's between you and your father. But I'm telling you on a standpoint where you have to, the next step is actually to walk away. It's okay, because it is about you being healthy. It is about you being strong and that person as well. If together there is no hope, and your life is just tumultuous, you can't seem to think straight, talk straight, do anything right, you're heavy laden, you're burdened, and what kind of a relationship is that you want to stay into? A lot of people say, well, okay, if it's a battered relationship, I see easily why you should leave. But battery can also happen mentally, emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Why stay in something that hard, that difficult, that broken? Why? And then the sad part is, if you have children, you're dumping all of that on
Right.
them. If it's time to go, it's okay. I'm here to tell you, Vanessa Persaud-Robert, believer in Lord Jesus Christ, is here to tell you it's okay to go. If that is what is the next step, don't be ashamed of it. I have seen so many people walk away, and they have become better people for it. They have become better ministers for it, to walk someone else through a journey towards their marriage, believe it or not. They're not going around selling, hey, this is my divorce pamphlet, this is how you do it. No, they actually know, and they're walking into it. So there is no real answer, ladies and gentlemen. It is all about you and your partner, and actually how you're communicating to know if that's your next step.
Wow. Well, that opened up some more questions. I love it. Thank you for sharing the story. Vanessa, society has made marriage into a fairy tale, but I love that you are sharing the realities and the hurdles of marriage and what to expect. An amazing book that you have written there. And then Annie said, yes, girl, the easiest thing to do is shifting the blame, but we have to take responsibility ourselves, basically. And Lydia said, do you recommend premarital counseling?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is that's why I'm just so floored by what God is doing with this. It's been what, since 2018 that this has been given to me, and all I can see is how it is a tool. It is an absolute tool. And I've started up working on the program, the playbook, which is the like a workbook that accompanies this book, that will accompany it soon. But also working on that platform as it being for ages 16 and older.
I love that. Well, now, why 16?
Because 16 is the time that we are emotionally challenged the most. There are hormones going. There are, things happening externally as well as internally. Within our families, identity is being forged at this point. And if only I knew half of these things that are in this book at that age, because the way the Lord wants to bring it is, you've got to get to know the you first. You have to know the part in the partnership before you focus on
That's
partnership.
right.
I got to know what I like. I got to know what I don't like. I've got to know what my interests are. I've got
Yes.
to know what drives me, what my standards are. I got to know my convictions. If I don't know these things, how do I expect someone else who is going to live with me to know, or
It's
how to
impossible.
hear about me? No, I gotta know that for myself. And I need to have my sons know that for themselves. It's not about ladies only. It is
That's
about my
right.
sons and men as well. You're coming together as partners. You got to share something. So if he knows what his standards are, you know what your standards are, and you're coming together, you'll have a better understanding of where you're headed. You
I
know,
agree. Wow.
you know.
Well, that's some great feedback. 16-year-olds, if you're out there, definitely take a look at this book because it's going to be a roadmap for you to get to being prepared for marriage. Anyway, Lydia says folk need to look at why they're getting married, just like they look at why for other things in life, such as their career, their business. Is it a solid why? Something that can endure the times, basically. Wow, really great comments, Lydia. So glad you're in the studio audience today. Annie, you guys, thank you all so much for chiming in. These are great comments. Okay, so how can people get a copy of your book, Vanessa?
Okay, so right now, it's on Amazon, especially for those people that are out of the country or something. I would recommend that you go right ahead and order it from Amazon. It's both in Kindle and it's both on paperback on Amazon for order. You just have to type the title in. But for right now, if you wanted an author's, what is it? You want me to
Signed
sign?
author's copy.
Yeah, the author's copy. I'm still waiting for mine to come so that I can do that for you. And so all you would have to do is message me on Messenger. Say that 3 times fast. Message me on Messenger, right on my Facebook messenger page there, and it's Vanessa Persaud-Robert, and you just tell me you want one, give me your address, and the books are going for $20 a piece.
Oh, and let me ask, this is just a way off question, but is that Dr. Deline and her husband?
Yes, it is.
I was like, why did I think that the hair slung to the side is Dr. Deline?
And I'm so glad you brought that up because a part of this whole process, honestly, I alluded to it earlier, when the Lord gave it to me and I realized what it was and its potential, I really held it close to breast. I did not let go of this, like give it
Right.
to anyone or share it with anyone, because I was like, oh my God, I don't want anyone perversing it. I don't want anyone dissecting it and taking away from what God gave me. And I held on to it and I kept it, like I said, close breast. I shared it with my mom. She didn't want to hear it because at the time I was going through it. And so she was like, don't tell me about marriage. What did Jesus tell you else? Tell me what else Jesus told you. So she was like, okay. So I let it go. And then, because she's my biggest critic and I know she's honest. So I wanted her to hear it and say, well, oh yeah, I get it. This is good. And she didn't want to have it at that time. And then when my
She was like,
husband and I
work on your own marriage. And
yes,
blah, blah, blah.
exactly. She's that type of woman. That's what I love about my mother. She doesn't mince words. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, and then she sees my hurt. So I understood where she was at. Then when my husband and I were coming together again, I gave it to him. I was like, read this. If we can work this out together moving forward, then this is what we're going to, it's going to be the success. He didn't look at it. He was busy here, busy there, doing whatever. And then Kenny said Twaru, she had this beautiful collaboration that she wanted us to be a part of, and I never joined in anything like that. And she's always encouraging me. She says, you write really well, blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, yeah, blah blah blah, let it go. But when she asked this time, I jumped on it. And I didn't know exactly why, but I felt this was the opportunity to be a part of a project like that. This is how I fight my battles. And it was talking about my loss, and my sister passed away suddenly May 1st, 2019, how I had faced some health issues immediately thereafter. Yes, that's the book. And I was a part of that book of so many testimonies of strong women in their weakness, their strength came forth, and all of that story. And after that book was published and we finished at that point with the project, it just became heavy on me. Like, I need to make sure someone who's out there that needs this gets it. It was like selfish of me to hold on to it and them not have it and they need it. And but I was not gonna just put it out to any and anybody. I was very much afraid that they would want to turn it into something that it was not meant to be. And she and I were talking one day, and then all of a sudden, I was sharing, like, I'm ready to let go of this book. I want this to be published, and I wish I could have confidence in a company, to do just that. And she was like alluding to things, and she was like, just hold on to that for, just a minute, and I'll get back to you. And then when she finally did get back to me, she and her sister, the young lady you see there, the hair in the cover, Dr. Deline Mushilak, they came together and they were already in the works of putting together a publishing company, Alea Publishing. And she and her, they both shared with me their passion, and they shared with me their vision and mission. And I said, this is it. I need you to do this for me. I didn't have everything in line that I needed to have at that time except the manuscript. But I stepped out in faith and I handed it to them. And they were brutal in their assessment. They were very loving, but brutal at the same time. Honest,
Yes, they are.
and I said I wanted it, but when I heard it, I was kind of like taken back. I was like, no, you can't make it into, no, and then right away the Holy Spirit says, be quiet and listen. And as they shared their suggestions, and I took a look at it, and they helped, my God, they brought me to this place, to the point where you see that cover. So in order to get the cover, I shared with them my vision, they shared their vision, and we worked it together. And I told them exactly what I wanted. So in order for me to see that look on their vacation, they didn't have to do this, Dr. Matthew and Deline. They took that picture to send to me, just to see, okay, what do you think? How does this look like what you want? As soon as I saw it, I said, can I please just have that one?
And see, I know even that side profile, I'm like, I know those people. I love it. I love it. Courtney said, awesome title.
Yeah.
Awesome title.
Yes, Dr. Matthew, he and I don't have like a relationship. Like, we don't know each other or anything like that. Deline was already gone, doctoring when she had gotten together there, and I never really met him. But for him to say, okay, that meant so much to me. Deline and I, Dr. Deline and Kenise, we grew up together. So we have that understanding or that communication, but then for him, like a quote unquote stranger and someone of that prestige, you're a surgeon, for heaven's sake, and you don't know me from anyone, and you're willing to do that. I felt so honored. I am so honored.
That is awesome. Awesome, awesome. And everyone, make sure you get your copy of the book. And let me tell you again how you can, I put the information on about Amazon here. Thank you, Shannon, for popping that on. And then also, if you want to get, so right in your comment section is how you can purchase it on Amazon. But then if you'd like to also get an author signed copy, all you have to do is inbox Vanessa Persaud-Robert on Facebook in order for you to get that. It's only $20 for the book. She'll send you an author signed copy. So make sure you put your address. And how do they pay for the book on Facebook?
Okay, so when you message me, I'll give you more information. I think my daughter, which I call her my production team, she set up some Cash App.
Okay. So just inbox Vanessa and tell her that you're interested in getting her book, which is only $20. She'll give you the payment method, and make sure you give her your address, and she'll ship that author signed copy out. She's right now still waiting for her copies to come in, which are in transit. So they'll be to her, and she'll be able to get them out to you probably within the next week or two. Okay. Yes. Now, see how I'm being your manager over here, Vanessa?
It's
You're like, yay. All right, everybody, make sure you know, too, that if you want to support the Kim Jacobs Show with any online contribution, here are some ways that you can do that. And we appreciate any support that you provide to allow us to continue to bring balance to the world, one household at a time, by bringing guests like Vanessa Persaud-Robert here on the Kim Jacobs Show. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, my mom said, and my mother, Patricia Lofton, said, make sure you tell people it's free, Kim. So for the seniors that are out there, it's free. All you have to do is have a Google or Gmail account, an Gmail email account, and you can subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show YouTube channel. Turn on your notifications. And when we go live, guess what? You're right there in the studio audience because you will receive an alert. Today is International Women's Day. So for all of the women around the world, no matter where you come from, big, small, tall, no matter how many children you have, no matter whether you work outside of the home, whether you work inside of the home, whether you are a minister of the gospel, whether you are wherever you are in life, we celebrate you today internationally. Today is International Women's Day. So for all of you that are out here in the studio audience, just put some type of 3 in the comment section so we can make it into a heart like we're showing love. Put a 3 in the comments, or even just say Happy International Women's Day. Hashtag International Women's Day. Hashtag International Women's Day. Woo! Okay, so coming up this week, we have also Breaking the Bonds of Childhood Depression. Everyone you know needs to be in this seat tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's help these children break childhood depression. We're going to have a social worker in the building talking to us, to the virtual building. She's going to be in the virtual building talking to us about how to break the bonds of childhood depression. And on Wednesday, we have another group of women that's all from that My Walk Past Hell. Remember, there are 30 authors. Well, this is going to be the other group of authors that's going to be coming up. And they're going to be talking about how they're resilient, transformational, unsinkable, life-changing experiences as they have walked past hell. Woo! And you know Shannon, one of our own team members, she's a production manager with the Kim Jacobs Show, is one of the authors in this book as well. Shannon, I don't know why I don't see your picture, but I expect for you to come on every time all of these authors come on. She's shaking her head. No, I'll pull you right on the screen, Shannon. I'll pull you on. Okay, she's like, please, Kim, no. I like to torture Shannon backstage. All right, everybody. Vanessa, are there any closing final comments? Because I know I would love to just hear one more pearl of wisdom from you.
Pearl of wisdom. I have actually one portion of scripture I'd like to read for you. And it comes from Luke 6:31, the Message version. And it reads, "Here is a simple rule of thumb for behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you, then grab the initiative and do it for them." The golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Listen, find that moment, find that way, look for it. Don't just walk around with blinders on, but take the time and take the initiative and do it for them. It's going to come back to you.
Wow. Well, thank you so much again, Vanessa Persaud-Robert, for being here today. Again, let's celebrate International Women's Day and every woman that you know around the country. Vanessa, you are an incredible guest, and you have just shared wonderful wisdom on today's episode. Also, thank you to Attorney Charles Everidge, and we've given you ways to stay connected with him as well. Very important to just reach out to them right on Facebook with you can go to Hunter and Everidge and share your story with them via inbox, private messenger, and then he will be able to get back to you right away. So everybody, that's all I can do today on one episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for taking your lunch break with us. And you have a great day.
You too.
All right, everybody, have a great one. See you tomorrow at 11.